Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 6 of the DevRel Show. Again, super excited to be here. I have a new guest this week. Kevin is with me, and right before we jump to Kevin, for those of you that are new, as the first time you're watching the DevRel Show, you guess what? It's a show about developer relation, and you probably see my cat behind. So there's a little bit of cats during that show. Just the painting, my cat came in. So yeah, it's a show about developer relation. I have a guest every 2 weeks. We talk about their career, a little bit about themselves. We talk about all things developer relation, and because we have DevRel people, there is always like a demonstration, a demo, something that we talk about at the end of the show. Can be specific about developer relation, can be like cool technology for developers, DevOps, GitOps people. Just yes, we learn about DevRel when we talk about DevRel, but learning also about like more technical stuff that can be also useful day to day in our job. So with that said, I have Kevin Blanco with me today, which is awesome because we don't know each other. I think we were following each other on like Twitter and LinkedIn for a while, but like we never
Yeah.
met in person, even not like video to video or face to face. So thanks for being on the show. So Kevin, who are you?
Thank you so much, Fred, for having me. When I saw you were looking for people to join your show, I was like super excited because, I mean, I've seen your trajectory and I'm super impressed about it. And like having the
Oh,
ability to talk to you in this show is super cool for me. Like I'm super excited about it. And in general terms, Kevin is it's kind of a funny, multifaceted type of person. I always like to present myself in three different facets. The first one is like the person who have a trajectory in computer science. I've been writing code for the last 14 years. Graduated from computer science and started working in the agency life. I'm based in San Jose, Costa Rica, and Costa Rica has a perfect location for different companies because we're super close to the United States. We're in a really nice time zone, and the education here, the free education is really good. They have a great level, great English level as well. So most of the companies in the US, like Amazon, like Google, Microsoft, they have offices here in San Jose, Costa Rica, and we position ourselves like a very technical type of country. So there's a lot of possibilities to work from here. And yeah, I started working on a local shop, like a local development company, and I think everything always aligns to what you're looking for. That was my first work, my first job, and they only worked on open source. They were like, we
nice.
like to develop things, but we like to contribute to open source. So when I remember the first interview, they told me like, yeah, like you're junior, we're not expecting you to have any type of like super experience, but we do want you to know that on Saturdays, we like to contribute back to the Drupal open source project because they use a lot of Drupal, which is an open source CMS. And that was interesting. I was not obligated to do it, but they said we encouraged
Oh,
you
good.
to also participate, to also like go into Drupal camps or Drupal local events and meetups and present. So I said yes. I mean, I was looking for a job. And I mean, I have to say, I'm thankful to my first boss because of doing that, because that's how I got into like the open source community. And I just loved it, like being able to, for example, get in a room with few people and contribute back to open source, and them explaining me things. And I had the chance to talk to like super genius guys, like CTO of companies or things like that, and they were super chill, like super humble. They sit down with me, explain things to me. I was just learning like Drupal and PHP, and that's the thing I got from the community. And from the first time I said, I'm always going to contribute back to the community. And from there I
That's
continued to
awesome.
grow. I jumped from junior developer to then full stack to senior developer. And then around 6 years ago, I moved more to like cloud and dev operations. And I started working as a software architect on another agency in Canada, which I worked a lot of months. I had to go back. Yeah, I know you're from Montreal, right?
Yeah, I am.
Um,
I am Canadian represent.
I love Canada. I really love Canada. And I actually have to move to Montreal because the company
Oh,
we were working for, you probably know it. It's an insurance company called Intact.
yeah, yeah, I know.
So I worked for Intact as a cloud architect, and I had really nice time working over there. And then I go back to Costa Rica and started working as a technical director. So that's my background in tech. But in parallel, I had the other facet, which is like I said, community, going back to the community and contributing back. So when I was working in Drupal, like the first 4 years of my career, I always went to local meetups and to contribute back to those events. I started just making presentations about what I knew, and then I joined like the organizing team, and I started helping like actually organizing the events. And that took me to the option to go to the DrupalCon in 2016 in New Orleans. I had the chance to speak over there. It was my first uh, internationally speaking, let's say,
Nice.
opportunity. I probably felt really bad because I was super nervous.
Oh no.
But you have to start from something. And I mean, people really liked the presentation because I built a module for Drupal that connected to, at that moment, people build mobile apps with something called Ionic. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, Ionic framework. Yeah.
It was like a web framework to build mobile apps. So I built a connector from Drupal to Ionic, and people really liked it. It was like just connect the module, and you can pull data from the Drupal API into your mobile app. So that's what I presented about. And then since I started working with cloud, I really loved Google products, and I started working a lot with Google, and that's how I got into converting, let's say like that, or participating in the Google Expert program. So the Google Experts are just developers or people in the community that has a good trajectory on certain technologies in Google, and they join an advocacy program where we can, for example, access beta products. We can give feedback to the Google products, and we also participate on different events, speaking and teaching about the different, Google technology. In my case, I'm a Google expert in Google Cloud, but they have others like in Android, in AngularJS,
Yeah.
in web, something like that. And being a Google expert has given me a lot of opportunities to be able to participate in multiple conferences around the world. This year, I was invited as a keynote speaker in the Google I/O Extended in Toronto. Also, a couple of months, I went to Montreal for the Google Dev Fest. Fly in, speak, and then fly back, and also in the Calgary Google Dev Fest, and some events in Latin America, in Colombia, in
Nice.
Chile, and things like that. So that's like the DevRel facet, and that led me to the position I'm working on right now, which
What's the?
is, oh, do you hear me well? Yeah, all good.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
Yep.
Which is like being a full-time DevRel. I did all of these things in my free time, like in parallel, but now I got my full-time position as a DevRel working for Appsmith. And Appsmith is a low-code and no-code platform to build internal dashboards and enterprise dashboards that connect to data sources. And so what I do here is basically I'm focused on three things. First thing is growth, building the community, elevating our champions, and just making sure that the developer experience is great. The second thing is discovery, like doing secondary research, stakeholder interviews, primary research, and obviously increasing awareness, the go-to-market, facilitating consideration of our platform for other companies, developer acquisition, and that's the kind of things that I do. And I'm mostly focused on creating content, video content, for our channel, for other channels. For example, we also do joint collaborations with other companies because Appsmith is
Mhm.
a product that connects to data sources. So we're not like a product that can go standalone. People normally connect their database in Oracle or MySQL or SQL Server. So we work together with those companies to enable our developers to be able to pull data from all of those different data sources into their Appsmith apps. So my job is to go and talk to the developer advocacy programs in those companies and do joint collaborations, documentation about how to integrate our platform with their platform. And normally we also do joint collaborations like this, like videos. And that's the second thing. And lastly, to not go super long, is the third portion, which is video production. I love films ever since I was a kid. So, long story short, I graduated from film school. I have a degree, and I'm mostly focused on script writing, screenplay, and video camera management. I have some certifications on ARRI camera management. I've participated in featured films, and I'm also a certified DaVinci Resolve editor and colorist. DaVinci Resolve is a video editor software that
Wow.
they use in Hollywood, and I'm focused a lot on the color portion. So I know about color science, and I've participated color grading some featured films, and I have a certification in color science. So all of that kind of combines together. All of those three things of my experience combine together in this position that I have right now as a DevRel, because I do a lot of content editing, video
Yeah.
editing, lightning, and participating in the communities. And obviously the background, the technical backgrounds allows me to have like very technical conversations with some companies.
That's awesome. That's a one nice introduction about you. I did not know you that well when we started the show. Now I have a pretty good idea. Impressive background, and I love that you talk about videos editing, like all the other, not extra stuff, but like all the additional passion you have and experience you have. Because first you're gonna demo, or you're gonna talk a little bit about that later at the end, to help like developer advocates to really like be like talk about, like give better story when we talk about our product, when we talk about technology, also create more better video or online content, which is an important part of our job. So awesome. I did not want to interrupt you when you were when you were introducing, because I thought it was like just like flawless and going like perfectly, but I took a couple of notes because there's a couple of points that I want to come back. But
Okay.
before that, let me say hello to Tobiloba. Hello, Fresh and Kevin. And I know, I'm sorry, I'm pointing that he wanted to say Fred. Uh, just some like autocorrect and keyboard. So, but you can say I'm Fresh too. I mean, like, I'm fine with that. So,
Yeah.
thanks for joining us live. It was very nice. And the second thing, let me just thank our sponsor, which happens to be my employer, that gave me the opportunity to do that live stream during my work time, which is pretty cool. So qfirst.io, you can go check out. We are open source Kubernetes GitOps platform, really great product, but I have some bias because, they're my employer, but I love the product. I'm doing DevRel that too. So, I mean, you need to be passionate about your product if you want to be successful in DevRel. So, on
That's
that
true.
note, a couple of things that you shared that I wanted to come back because I think it's super interesting. The first thing is that you said your first job was like around open source, and I think it's super important. Like, I did not have that opportunity when I started in dev, meaning that like my first product was closed source, and we were not really encouraged to like do open source. I did not really exactly know what it was when I started, and I think it was something that really did not help me at the next step of my career. Now I'm a big open source fan. I contribute, like, I firmly believe in open source. But when I was looking for my second job, I had nothing to show to my potential employer because we were like having closed source. The product was not even advertised that much because we're competing with, like, we're advanced in technology. We're competing with like big customer all over the world, and like the world was different at that time. So I had like barely a really shitty website to showcase to folks, and like I had nothing. It was more like, hey, believe me, I have experience, and I'm not bad at like at what I do as a developer. So uh, just want to come back like with the open source. Uh, like, what did that like bring to you after, like, and I think you already touched base to that you started to speak at conference. Like, what's the benefit you see has like a developer and now developer advocate to have open source as like a tool within your toolbox, like as someone with that career?
Yeah, no, definitely. So the first thing you mentioned about loving the product or the company you represent, I think that's super valid. You mentioned your company, I mentioned Appsmith, not because they're telling me like, go and mention me. No, it's like I believe in the product, and that's something
Mhm.
really interesting. If some of the audience that are watching us are DevRels, and maybe they're looking for a gig or they're working on a company, it's like you have to fall in love with the problem, because that's the first thing. You don't fall in love with the solution, you fall in love with the problem you're trying to
That's so
solve.
true.
And that's super true. And second is open source is, I will say, is an enablement. It's a mechanism. Like, people think that I go to like conferences or to, like, for example, an event to teach people because I'm going to feed my own ego. But that's not true. I do it because open source has given me so much that I really feel that I want to give it back. The fact that I can use Drupal in my career, for example, that's the first thing I used in my career, as a platform to get a job and have a monthly paycheck. And it's a free product. Like, you can download Drupal, build your website, deploy your website. Nobody's charging you anything to use it. And then I can go to conferences and people get to know me and offer me a better job, because most of the different positions I've been earning, I mean, growing, for example, in my career, they all came from events. They all came from connections I made on different conferences or online events or what have you. I never applied to those. And it's funny because I've never searched for a
It's
job.
awesome.
Most of the people reach out to me and say, hey, Kevin, we met in this event, we love the way you speak, the way you teach, and we have a position, and then I consider it. I've been fired a couple of times because that's the agency life. I used to work a lot on agencies, and agencies tend to have a staff augmentation. They hire like 100 developers for a project, and unfortunately the project ends or it doesn't go well and they fire people. That's not good, but it's kind of normal. But I've been fired a couple of times because of that reason. And it's not to brag about it, but it's because the same thing about open source. Like, I reach out to some
Mhm.
connections that I made on events and say, hey, unfortunately, I don't have a job anymore. Things went bad on this company. And they're like, come on, Kevin, let's start right the way we really want you. So again, open source is not about yourself. It's never about yourself. It's always about the community and the product. But it pays back. It definitely
Yeah.
pays back, and you get to know so many good people. And again, going back to the humble thing, I always try to stay humble because I know there's better people than me teaching and giving me so much information, and I am also giving back to people who are growing their career. And there's always someone better and worse than you, so you have to stay humble.
Yeah.
But I love the humbleness of the open source community in general. Like, you get to have so many connections with people that it's mind-blowing how good they are, and they don't have like egos. So long story short, giving back to the community is giving back to yourself. It's like a circle,
So true. And so true. Yeah, so I agree with absolutely everything you've said. I mean, I also love your touch base about the fact that, speaking at conferences, meeting people in person. I was someone asked me to share my prediction about DevRel for next year, and my prediction, really boring, but my prediction was like that. I think starting next year, and I think we started to do that a little bit. We're going to go back to what I call basic of DevRel, what I was doing when I started to do DevRel 11 years ago, that we're doing a little less, especially with since the pandemic, is like doing in-person events. I'm a big believer that like online things are important because it's easier to scale. You can still create connection online, but maybe I'm a whole man like yelling at a cloud, but I feel like in person it's hard to replace the connection that you build, the relationship that you build in person. And that brought me so many opportunities, like, yes, being part of the open source community, but being part of like any community, any tech community, and especially in person, like after you had a coffee with someone, after you like discuss with someone during a break at a conference, like those kind of like relation that you built, it brought me so much personally but also professionally in my career. So I believe that like we should slowly go back to, like, we didn't stop, but like we lowered down the in-person stuff. And I don't
Yeah.
understand, it costs money, there's a lot of reasons, it's not scalable, but I believe there is some like huge benefit of doing those, and you touch base with some of them. So yeah, just like love that. And
Yeah.
for the people we're talking about conferences and speaking, you said like, hey, I really appreciate the transparency when you said like, hey, my first talk was probably shit, like it was not good, I was nervous. And I want to tell people it's normal. Like the first couple of talks, they're difficult, they're stressful. Always keep in mind that like it's not that you're better than other people, but you are the person on stage, you are taking the risk, you are being the person who is being nervous. But there is tremendous benefit to do that for other people because you share your knowledge, you share your experience. But like everything you said with open source, it's true with like public speaking. Like you do this because you want to share some stuff with other people, you want to help them understand or learn about new things, but like all the benefits of being on stage and like speaking and sharing, being a speaker at events is also phenomenal. So if you have the chance to like start doing public speaking, even if you're not a developer advocate, I think like there's a lot of benefits to do that.
Yeah, no, sure, definitely. And every time you do something bad, you have to start. Sorry, every time you want to do something, you want to start doing bad things, and that's a principle. Like also from starting a company, like you want to fail fast, you want to fail often, because if you don't fail, you're not going to grow. That's the only mechanism to grow. So if anyone out there wants to like start on DevRel or continue growing their career, definitely put the word out there. Like, I'm not saying you put shitty content out there. I'm saying do your best, and from there, from all of your mistakes, you will continue to grow. And nothing is going to be perfect, never. I always
No.
say that something is better done than perfect, because there's not such thing as perfection. You just do things the best way you can. You put all your work, all your love into that, and that's it. You let it be. But yeah, definitely open source. I never worked in something that is not open source. I cannot speak about the other side of the world, because like my first job was in open source, and from there, like the career just took me on that direction. But I can say that the open source world is just magnificent.
It is, it is. And to be honest, it comes sometimes with some challenges, and like not everybody is nice in the open source community. But I would say overall, people, as you said, they're usually humble, they're usually nice, they want you to succeed. They do this because they're passionate about what they do, they're passionate about the project. So yeah, it's a great space. And I've done both. I've worked at places where what was mostly closed source, even worse, like they were not believing in open source. And I don't think I would do that much again, because I'm an open source person. But
Right.
I'm also pragmatic. Like if you have a solution that it's interesting to me, if you solve a problem that I'm passionate about, it means I'm going to be able to do my job. But definitely, I prefer like any open source solution. It's part of the reason why I joined the company where I am right now, Cube First, because like our project is open source, and like it's a way to give back to the community. It's a way to share experience and expertise. Not just that, but like that was part of the reason why I'm like, when I was like, okay, like there is a good fit for me there. So obviously take the jobs that you need to take what makes sense for you. But like if you have a chance to work in the open source space, that opened so many other doors, and that's just fun most of the time, I would say.
Exactly.
So you talk a little bit about your role before now at DevRel. And did I understood correctly? Because I said I forget, but did I understood that like at Appsmith, it is your first role as a developer advocate
Yeah,
professionally?
professionally, it is my first role.
How
I've,
long?
like I said, I've been doing that like in my own free time, and I've been here for 7 months.
Awesome. So yeah, I started like that too. Like before being paid to do that, I was like starting to speak at conferences, starting to write blog posts. I started meetups and doing like a lot of like things developer advocate does. And so it's been a couple of months now, like going to your 1 year. Like how is it going? Like what's your experience moving from, I think you were an architect before, to like now a developer advocate? So how do you love the DevRel life?
Oh, well, I love it. I mean, I cannot say how much I love it enough. It's like the dream come true, because it's being getting paid to do what I usually did for free on my free time, and now I'm full time on that, and it's just amazing. Obviously, it was kind of hard at the beginning, because I had a very stable job as a technical director in a digital agency in New York. They had a very strong client base. I loved what I did over there, because they trust me. I was the technical director, I was managing people, managing all of the projects. Whenever they had a new customer, a new client, I will do like the technical approach, the diagram, the architecture, managing the development team, setting up all of the CI/CD repositories, managing the actual day-to-day for the developers. And I'm really good at that. So making the decision of like going full time into developer relations was not something that I took it easy, but I said this is what I'm passionate about. Like I'm passionate about talking to developers. I'm passionate about educating, and I'm really passionate about speaking. So I said, this is the only way I'm going to continue to do it as a full time, is taking this job. And I love their product. Like I also said myself, like, why I didn't knew about Appsmith before, because it will solve so much of the things that I had to do in my day-to-day as developer, like building things from scratch. They're usually the same, like pull data from these APIs, create a UI that showcase the data in multiple forms. It could be a table, a list, and people interact with that information. They generate actions. You have to go back to an API and store data, or do any type of logic in the UI. At the end, we kind of build the same stuff all over again. It's just
Yeah.
the different problems we're solving. They're different, they're different problems we're solving, but at the end, the mechanism is kind of the same. So I think everything joined together, a product that I loved, a company willing to give me the opportunity to do the things that I knew. And that's something that I appreciate a lot about Appsmith, is that my job there is literally do what you want to do, because we trust you. You have these goals, and
Awesome.
we trust that the mechanism to achieve those goals, we trust that the way you're doing it are going to achieve those goals. And I have to say, I have the best boss, because he's like super chill in that say, like, hey, Kevin, I trust you. I believe in you. You have the knowledge, you have the background, and the way you're doing it, we like it. So this is the goals. We just have to achieve it, and the mechanisms you are using to achieve it, we trust you. So I have to say that I love it. There's no micromanagement. Like I manage my own time. If I
That is
have
good.
to record videos here at my office, I have my studio here. I record videos today. Tomorrow I'm editing. The next day I'm working with a joint collaboration. Sometimes I even join pre-sales calls, not because I like pre-sales or they're making me do it, but because they say like, oh, we have this customer who is trying to set up Appsmith in Google Cloud. And I love Google Cloud because I'm a Google expert. And I say, oh, count me in. And I join the conversation with a potential customer and explain how to set up Appsmith in Google Cloud in a serverless infrastructure. And again, I'm doing what I like. There's no pressure. And I'm just in love with the position. I don't know if other companies are like that, but in general terms,
Not always.
I've yeah,
Trust
I've
me.
seen some stories in the different Slacks we're in. But and I think there's something that I want to mention that Appsmith did, which I think is crucial. I don't know if all companies should do this, but the way they did it is perfect. DevRel is a very unique area, and if you try to fit it into the marketing team, they're going to be a marketing asset. If
Mhm.
you fit it into a customer support or a pre-sales type of box, they're going to focus on that. And if you put it on the engineering like umbrella, it's going to be a very engineering focused team. For me, DevRel is something that is completely separate to all of those. It touches every point, like it touches marketing, it touches engineering, it touches the feedback from customers, so we can create more content around the things our customers are struggling with. But you shouldn't force it into any of those areas. And I think that's one decision that Appsmith made, which is amazing for me, that DevRel not reports directly to our CEO. We are like a separate team. And yes, we collaborate with marketing,
Yeah,
we
yeah, yeah.
collaborate with engineering, but again, I think that's a very smart decision, because I think that's where some of the troubles comes from other companies. They're struggling to fit it on a position that they don't exist, because it's a very open and spread position. So yeah, long story short, I'm loving it, and I think DevRel is a magnificent type of position that we are capable of doing, and it's just amazing.
It is, and you touched a couple of good points. First, congrats to your employer, because I think it's the way to go. I think it's how you should manage DevRel. I've had too many DevRel jobs, and I've been in all departments, and the time that I had the most impact was when I was my own department or my own team, and as you, I was reporting to the CEO or the like the founders, because as you said, like you became where you are in the org chart. And obviously, like sometimes if you're a part of marketing, you may get more budget, and if you're a part of like product of engineering, you may get more contact with the product team, or you may be able to have a bigger impact on the future of the product. But like at that point, like budget is going to be harder because it's engineering. Like, like it's there is never a place where you totally fit in, because that role is like, it's a lot of roles together. We do a little bit of everything. We work with all departments. So like being your own team, even if you're in a small company, like I've talked to people where like a company, they ask me some advice about that, and they're like, yeah, we're too small to have like a DevRel department. Like, hey, you know what, your DevRel department can be one person. It's
Right.
just mean that like that person reporting to the CEO, or like even the CTO or the CPO, but like at least not being part of another team really gave them the freedom. And freedom doesn't mean that they can or they should do everything, but like enough freedom to be developer relation and not be a DevRel person inside of marketing or a DevRel person inside of product on all the other teams. So yeah, that's a great job. And speaking of like a shout out to employers, I want also to give a shout out to your first employer, who really had
Yes.
the vision of, like you said, like, hey, you're a junior, so we have like junior expectation for you. Like, it's not related to Deborah, but like I've seen recently some job posting for like, hey, it's a junior role, but it asks you to have like 5 to 10 years of experience with different technology. Or like, what the fuck? Like, it's just a
Yeah.
gimmick for not paying someone. Like, it's not a junior role, like it's a senior role. But anyway, that's the way to go. And hi, Joseph. We have Joseph that say that it was a big day for you, a busy day for you,
Look
second
at
live
that.
stream of the day. This is how we roll in DevRel. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, we like
exactly.
talking. That's a job. The thing that when I was talking to people when I started doing DevRel, I was like you, I was like, hey, they're paying me to do things that I was doing for free for fun on my own time, and now I was getting paid to do that, which was awesome. And I was saying basically like, I'm being paid to talk. I like to talk. I have a big mouth. I'm an extrovert social person. Now
Yeah.
I'm being paid to like speak at conferences, connect with people, talk to people online, offline, and just help people being successful, which is also a big part of our job. Like, we help people being successful. We hope they can be successful with our product, but at the end of the day, we're there to help other developers or other people using our product, or not even sometimes our product, to be successful. So yeah, that's kind of a cool job. Still
Yeah.
loving it after all these years.
Oh yeah, for sure. And shout out to Joseph. Like, he's a co-worker here at Appsmith. He's like my fellow senior DevRel advocate, and yeah, we work together. We were on a live stream this morning. Again, we go live every Thursday with, it could be a joint collaboration, it could be a live coding, it could be a webinar, it could be like, for example, last week I had our very own CEO to talk about some customer success. And again, like I said, I have the chance to literally go out and say, I have this idea, pitch it to my boss, and he's like, let's do it. Let's make sure that we are just targeting the right audience, that we're achieving the goals that we have in the team. But I have the chance to bring anyone from the tech team or from the C-level team and talk about our product. So I think that's one of the different benefits. And being able to articulate and communicate the different ideas that the company has, I think that's one of the things I'm going to mention in my small presentation that I have, which is always focus on why. Most of the companies out there just talk about what they do, how they do it, but they never focus on why. And I think when you focus, like, and that's also for your own career as a DevRel, I mean, I'm not really much talking about how I do it, but I talk about why I do it, because I believe in open source. I believe that's the enablement mechanism to bring the people together. And that's the reason why all of these conferences are always full. It's because people believe the same things. It's not because they trust all of these companies. Maybe not. I don't really trust all of these companies behind some of the open source products that I use, but I believe in the community. And that's the why over there, not really the how or what they do. And I think that's so super powerful.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, just sharing the link to the Appsmith YouTube channel. So
Yeah.
there is the Thursday live stream that you can see. So don't miss that live stream. And speaking about Appsmith, I don't know, we didn't really talk that much about it. You just said like it was a no-code product and it integrated with other platform. Just for my own sake, like I'm curious. I know by name, but I don't know the product at all. Would you like to just like tell us a little bit about like what are you doing? What's your product?
Yeah, totally. I think that this type of explanation comes better if kind of show it. So I'm gonna just show it very
Oh, cool,
quickly.
cool. Yeah, yeah.
And
And if you're good to like, if we did not prepare that, so you may not be ready to
oh
showcase
no,
anything, but
that's fine. I'm always prepared to do that.
wonderful.
So if you go to Appsmith, you will kind of see what it is. It's an explanation, like you can accelerate your application development. There's multiple products out there that does the same. They're no code, a local platform where you can just create your application without having to set up all of the project from scratch. But the thing that I really like about Appsmith is the fact that it's open source and you can host it yourself. Because at the end, a lot of the large companies out there, they care a lot about security. They probably have their databases behind some sort of VPC or some type of funnel or router or whatever, and they don't really expose that information out there, and if they do, it's going to be kind of complex. So yes, you can sign up for our cloud version, which you can create your free account with Google or GitHub, and it's free forever. There's no free trial. There's nothing like you put your credit card. No, it's totally free.
That's awesome.
And you can again pull the self-hosting, because at the end it's a Docker image, and you can run it on Kubernetes, you can run it on Google Cloud, you can run on AWS, you can run on any infrastructure, even in your own computer. Just do Docker app. We have the Docker Composer file, and that's it. And once you're in, you have workspaces. So workspaces is a mechanism to group applications. You can have as many workspaces as you want, and you can have as many applications on each workspace as you want. So I'm just going to create a new workspace here, and I'm going to create a new app. So like I said, Appsmith is a way to build your application. It's mostly focused on enterprises or companies that are trying to manage data and processes. It's not like a website builder. Like you can go to Wix or something like that to build your website. That's not what Appsmith is. So you have the data, you bring your own data. It could be a Postgres database, your Mongo, your MySQL, Google Sheets, any REST API we support, and in any type of authentication, JSON Web Tokens, OAuth 2, barrier tokens, standard authentication like username and password. The same with GraphQL. And then multiple others like Redis, Redshift, DynamoDB, Microsoft SQL Server, and all of this. And we are continuously growing our data sources support. And that's part of things that I do. So, for example, I go and reach out to MongoDB and say, hey, let's work on a joint collaboration. Or with other companies that mostly support REST, or Salesforce, for example. We do have a lot of customers using Salesforce. We also have like a sample database you can use in case you don't have a database. So for example, I'm going to pull this one, which is like a user's database. And here you sneak a peek on that database. You kind of see the tables, and then you see the different fields on that specific table. So from there, now that you have your data source, you can go to pages, and here's where you build your page. So you have all of these huge repository of widgets. You can just drag and drop your widgets there. But also another mechanism to start is, for example, start from templates. We have a huge set of templates. Like you're building a content management system, just import the template and put your data source, and that's it. Or you want to build a dashboard and order fulfillment tracker. We have tons of different templates focus on different areas like finance, customer support, human resources, building blocks, etc. But you can also start from the page. So let's say, from the data source. We have this data source, which is the users. I'm going to target the users table, and then I'm going to say, well, you can search users by the first name or what have you, any type of field here. And then it's going to generate a whole CRUD application out of the schema of the data that I have. So I don't have to build like the page from scratch. So here I have a table representing all of the different fields that I have on my database. And every time I click any widget here in the center, you're going to see the properties on the right. And the way you bind data from your data sources back and forth, not only like from the data source into the widget, but also from the widget to the data sources, is by this type of binding. Is super similar to React or Angular. And for example, I have this select query, which Appsmith did by itself, where it's just a standard SQL. You can just come here and edit it. But Appsmith created by itself, and they name it select query. So then I can go to my table and do select query that data, and I can sneak peek on that data. Like I can see what the structure of that array is. and each object inside that array. And that's how I map data to the table. And I can do the same back and forth. So for example, if I'm going to create a new user, I have this form here, which Appsmith already created by itself, but I can go to the select query, to the insert query. And again, it's the same way to bind data from the widget into this query builder. I just did the name of the form. In this case, the name of the form is insert form, then the form data, which I can sneak peek again on the object, and then the name of the field, which in this case is name. So that's how I'm passing this data from the widget. And all of this is pretty similar to the way, for example, Angular and Firebase does in terms of like three-way data binding. All the data is updated in real time in the UI and the back and forth. And then you can just deploy your application. Here's this URL. I can share this URL with you, and you can access this app. And I can create a new record here, just put whatever I want. And it's going to utilize the queries that I did and binding the data into that specific query and going back to the database. I can also control multiple things like roles. I can have roles in my application and control the access of the date of those specific elements based upon these roles. So I can invite you here, give you a role. I can have as many roles as I want in the business edition. And I can say, for example, let's say here I have this table, and the table widget by default, you can download the data on that report. But you can say, well, I don't like that. I can just come here and find the download function, and I say, nope, I'm going to say this feature is only allowed for those Appsmith that user that, and I can get the role or a super user, or basically get the roles array and have some custom logic here and say, okay, so the download feature is only accessible for the admin roles, but not the marketing role, for example. I can create custom roles. So that's like sneak peek. It's a huge platform. Like it has,
looks
like you can then manage your logic with JavaScript. So you can just say, create a new JavaScript object, and here you have an ID. It's just plain JavaScript. And the cool stuff is that you can say, well, I don't know, I'm going to use a library. Let's say you want to manage, I don't know, Moment.js to manage, like, for example, dates, or you can bring any JavaScript library out there. You just pull the CDN or the URL. For example, let's say JS to PDF. All right, I'm going to create a JavaScript PDF with that library. Now Appsmith make that JavaScript library available as this value here. So I can come to my JavaScript object that I created, and I can just call that JS to PDF function right here.
I like that. It's like a in between no code platform, but like with a lot of like developer features. If you want to customize and like go the extra mile, or like add more logics, or do more custom things. So
exactly. So that's what it is, and you can have multiple data sources. That's what's cool stuff. So customers, they have data from Google Sheets and a database from here, and they, for example, they can even build ETLs. Like, that's not the goal for Appsmith, but you can even build something in the future that we're bringing, like, for example, workflows. You can say, all right, if something happens on a Google Sheet, a new record is created, I'm going to trigger this workflow that's going to call this database, etc. Like, the world's yours. And also we're bringing like custom components. Like, if there's a widget here that doesn't work for you, you will be able to create a custom widget next year and just define the structure, the logic, and the view, like the CSS and the HTML structure, very similar to any JavaScript, like, for example, React component. So yeah, that's what Appsmith is. And the thing is, you can have this same thing I just showed you on your server. You just pull Docker, and you will have the same platform as just showed you running on your server. The code is yours, and what for me is super mind-blowing is that you can have this on your source code. Like, you can literally check out the code in a Git repository, and that for me is key, because companies might have, for example, code checks or security validations or a CI/CD. You cannot do that with any platform out there in terms of low code and no code. With Appsmith, you can just put your code in a branch. You can just go to your application, define connect here to Git, what your Git provider is going to be, and literally your Appsmith code, you can access it because it's open source, and you can put it on source code. You can have people to actually see the code. So that's, for me, it's super mind-blowing. Like, this is, for me, a great
I love
platform.
that. Yeah, I love that. And I think it's awesome because I've seen often developers set aside no code platform because they're like, hey, I'm a developer, I can build stuff, I'm not going to use no code. No code is for non-developer, which first is, I don't believe it's true. I mean, I'm a
Yeah,
developer, I can build whatever I want with code. It doesn't mean that I want to build everything. It doesn't mean that I want to spend time to build things that maybe I found a little more boring to do or maybe too difficult. Like if someone can deal with that and I can concentrate on what I do best or what is more exciting to me, why not use a no code platform? But like Appsmith seems to be like a no code platform plus plus, like
exactly.
having that. So I love that. So I don't want to put the burden on you of like doing another demo, but like we had something else that was actually planned for this show. That was a super interesting topic. I don't know if you still have the time and you want to talk a little more about like, creating online content and video editing. I think it was a super interesting topic.
Yeah, I mean, I have time, and like you said at the beginning, like I can go for hours. Like when I'm talking about what I like, I don't have any problems, and I don't have any meeting. So
Awesome.
yeah,
Let's
we can talk a little bit about
let's
that.
do that because I like this is what I promised to people. I like when I was doing the promotion, and actually super interesting for me. So maybe this part you may think that it may not be addressed to developer. It's mostly for developer like relation folks because we create mostly video content, but it's not true anymore. Like as a developer working on a personal brand, working on trying to build your network, working on like showing potential future employer that you know what you're doing or that you have some experience or expertise. Creating online content, creating video content is one of the way to go. So that's a good skills to have, even if it's not directly impacting your developer job. So Kevin, the floor is yours again. Tell us a little more about like creating great stories and video
Sure.
content.
Yeah, for those who have been following up, thank you. I know it's will be like 46 minutes already online and probably going to be a little bit more. So, grab a coffee or maybe a glass of water because this is going to continue for a bit longer. So I already explained who I am, so I'm not going to spend time over there. But at the end, all I try to do in my day-to-day is support and empower developers worldwide by teaching, by giving them content, by helping them. So, what are some of my special moves? That's the way I kind of put it here. Is like I'm a character in a video game, and I'm trying to help you. That's my goal. And so, like I said, I have been building cool technology for 14 years. I'm an international public speaking, and I'm a filmmaker, script writing, and I also fly planes. I forgot about that. I'm a private pilot, but that's a whole different topic. We could.
Yeah, I was curious about all the planes in the background. I was like, there's something there. There's a passion around plane, but I was not sure. So yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, we can talk about like being a private pilot, and I that's something I do for fun. I don't dedicate to that, but I really like flying airplanes. So my goal for today was to explain to you a bit about the art of storytelling, the art of lightning for video, and a bit of it of post production, which I don't think I'm gonna cover, but I'm just gonna go like super high level about a little bit on post production. Um, my question to all of you, if someone's watching and want to let us know in the chat, but to you, Fred, is what's your favorite movie?
Oh God, that's a good question. What's my favorite movie? I have no idea. I have so many movies I like.
But you
I
have watched movies that you loved, right?
yeah, like this is the problem. Like too many. I don't know. Wow, simple question I cannot answer. I don't know. I like most of the movies I watch.
That's good. Well, while you think about it, I'm going to tell you mine. One of my favorite
Yeah,
movies
please.
is Before Vendetta. Uh, I love that movie, and anything from Christopher Nolan, anything from the old days, from Christoph. But in general terms, what I wanted to achieve with this is that there is nothing more global and unifying than films. Anyone in the world can answer this question, and they might struggle like you because there's probably a lot of good movies we have seen. We probably have seen really bad movies.
Exactly.
Like there's probably a lot of movies you have said that movie sucked, but there's plenty of at least a handful of movies you have said that movie changed my life. I love the movie, and you feel emotions from the movie. Like when you're watching the movie, you kind of feel emotions, and there's a reason behind that. And the reason behind that is storytelling. And at the end, storytelling is just empathy. We feel we are the main character of the movie Um, and that's the reason why it generates empathy, because it generates the same emotions that probably the person behind the screen is feeling. So, I mean, have you ever, and this is funny, it happens to me. I don't know, it happens to everyone watching, but I know probably it have happened. Have you ever seen a movie and right after you leave the theater, you feel like you are the character working, like coming out of the theater, like you're walking, like I have the personality of the person just coming out. Like I feel I'm Spider-Man right after I watch Spider-Man, or Harry Potter. Like I want to do it with Guardian Leviosa right after I watch Harry Potter. And there's a reason behind that. So that's something called the hero journey. This is something I learned when I was, getting my film degree. Basically, a hero journey is a timeless story structure which follows a protagonist on an unforeseen quest. And when they face challenges, gain insights, and return home transformed, you feel like that person. And that's why good films at the end, it's because they generate that empathy. And that's what storytelling is about. Now, funny thing is, it's pretty much the same structure in all Hollywood movies. Right after I tell you the structure, you will definitely see the structure on every movie you have seen. And sorry if I'm going to break that rule for you. At next movie you will say, oh my God, here's the structure Kevin told me. Yes, there is the first act. And funny thing, this is not something Hollywood invented. This come from the old Greece when they have these theatrical acts. It's the same thing. It's a structure to generate emotions on people, to tell a story. And it's not something that Hollywood invented. Like I say, if you see the old Greece stories, you will see the same structure. The theatrical presentations, they have the same structure. So these three acts. The first act is combined with 4 stages. The first one is the ordinary world, in which we meet our hero. This is where the journey starts. Is before our hero discovers a strange new world, and we must first understand the status quo, the ordinary, the mundane reality. Like Harry Potter, like Spider-Man. He's just a standard student. He's trying to get a girlfriend. He suck at it. That's the mundane reality of that specific character. And you will see that in every movie. You just kind of meet the person. Then you have the call for the adventure, in which the adventure starts. It's about putting the hero out of the comfort zone. Is where the stage, and this stage, sorry, is where they generally confront a problem or a challenge they cannot ignore. And that's key over there. They cannot ignore that challenge. Think about Matrix. Hello, Neo. That's the call for the adventure. Or in the Spider-Man, where the spider beats Peter Parker. That's a call they cannot ignore. And that's something very important over there. Then on stage 3, you have the refusal of the call, in which the hero is trying to, deny that call. So, for example, let me think about an example. In Star Wars, for instance, Luke Skywalker initially refuses to join Obi-Wan Kenobi on his mission to rescue the princess. It's only when he discovers that his aunt and uncle have been killed by the stormtroopers, and that changes his mind. So Frodo rejecting the ring call, for example, or when the Spider-Man, Peter Parker, they killed his aunt, his uncle, sorry. Oh. And then you have the 4th stage, which is the meeting of the mentor, in which the hero acquires a personal trainer. This is mostly the same thing on all Hollywood movies. The hero decides to go on the adventure, but they're not ready to spread their wings yet. They have too much inexperience at this point, and they don't want to do like the fabulous Beverly Fluff of the clip. For example, let me give you an example about this. Dumbledore in Harry Potter, Morpheus in Neo, and in Matrix, Gandalf for Frodo. Those are the mentors that is going to drive the hero to the journey. So that's the first act. Then we have the second act, which is the crossing of the first threshold. That's where the hero enters a world that it's super different for them. That's where the romance begins, where the wagon gets rolling, when the balloon goes up. Then you have the 6th stage, which is the test, allies, and enemies. This is where the hero faces a new challenge and gets a squad. So when we step into the special world, we notice a definite shift. The hero might be, unfamiliar with the reality and its new rules. This is generally one of the longest stages in the history, is where our protagonist gets grips into the new world. For example, in the first few months of Harry Potter in Hogwarts, he manages to fight a troll, almost fell from the broomstick and die, and get horrible last in the Forbidden Forest. That's the 6th stage over there. Then you have the approach to the inmost cave, in which the hero gets closer to his goal, but unfortunately, he's not going to achieve this goal in this step. Then you have the ordeal, in which the hero faces the biggest test of all of those far. So, for example, here the protagonist must now confront the greatest fear, and if they survive, they will emerge transformed. This is a critical moment in this history. This is normally the peak, the most intense portion of the movie. And then you have the reward, which is like the seizing of the word, the seizing of this word, sorry, in which the hero sees the light at the end of the tunnel. Our hero has been through a lot. However, the labor is still going through. Like, for example, Luke rescues the princess and captures the plans of the Death Star. And that's the key to defeating Darth Vader, but that's not the final stage. And that's where we get to the last act, which is the road back, the resurrection, and the return to the elixir. And the most important thing here is where the hero is going to come back, transform to their previous life, but nothing is the same again. The hero transform everything. Like, for example, in the Chronicles of Narnia, when those kids go into Narnia, they learn all of those stuff. They go back to their previous life, but nothing is the same again. They're transformed. They're different. So over there, I don't know if you have any questions or anyone in the audience, but I can move to my simplified version of the hero history, because this is like a movie structure. But I want to tell you how you can apply this into your day-to-day as a DevRel. All right, so it looks like there might not be any question, but moving forward,
No.
I'm going to my structure.
No, I mean, like, sorry, I didn't
it's
ask any question, because like that's clear to me, and I know where we're going with that. But yeah, nobody's in the listening have any questions. So I'll move forward, my friend.
Cool. So the simplified version is quite simple. It's just a 3-stage. You have attention, reflection, and transformation. And basically, attention is, calling the person attention by generating some sort of connection with that person. Again, this has to be sentimental. It's not like, are you trying to buy a new computer? Buy the computer from me. There's no connection over there. And then you have reflection, which is like you tell the person how are they going to feel, or how they're going to stand out after they change something in their mechanism or their life, or they use your product or what have you. And then it comes the transformation, which is like you explain to them how the life is going to be right after that. So I'm going to give you an example that I have here. Let's say I'm going to show you how to integrate my platform, Appsmith, with Salesforce. So I could say something like, hello, everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to integrate Appsmith with Salesforce using OAuth 2. It's very simple, and we have a connector and a template too. Out of the box, make this connection for your sales team to start creating dashboard. That's fine, but there's no story over there. There's no connection. People are going to forget about your message in the next second. So let's see an example using my structure. I can say, hey there, at Appsmith, we believe that technology should empower, not overwhelm. Are you tired of spending hours generating reports from Salesforce, getting data into multiple tables? Have you ever wished for a hassle-free way to generate reports, graphics, and big data analysis with a couple of clicks away and without writing code? Well, here's the secret sauce: Appsmith OAuth 2 integration with Salesforce. It's so simple that anyone can do it. We got a ready-made connector and a template that helps your sales team connected in no time. But that's not all. To get started, check out the link on the video and a step-by-step guide. Transform your sales process with ease right now. I said the same thing, but I said it completely different, because first of all, I gave them the transformation piece. The first of all is the attention. We believe that technology should empower, not overwhelm. And then I tell them the reflection. Are you tired? Are you tired, sorry, of spending hours generating reports from Salesforce, getting data into multiple tables? And if you are my target audience, you're going to say yes. That's normally the way I achieve it. The reflection is asking a question that they're going to say yes, because they're going to say, yeah, I feel the same way as you do. And then it comes to transformation. I tell them there is a mechanism, there is a better way, here's how you do it. And I ended up with a call to action.
Yeah.
And why does this work? There is a book about it. I recommend it. I'm not going to spend time on this. It's called The Golden Circle from Simon Sinek. There's also a TEDx conversation he made. It's super great, super simple. And at the end is the way we communicate. Most of the people communicate from the outside into the inside. What, how, and then why. We are a computer company. We sell computers. We have the best computers. They have good memory RAM. They use the best CPUs. That's the what. How? Well, you kind of know how your company does. And barely people talk about the why. Now, if you go to most of the successful companies' website, they don't talk about what they sell. If you go to the Apple website, if you go to the Harley Davidson website, if you go to any of these big companies, they don't tell you about what they do. They don't tell you about how they do it. They tell you why. If you go to Apple website right now, I encourage you. They don't say that their banners are going to say we sell the best cell phones. Nobody's going to buy that. They sell you its status quo. How you going to feel when you use an Apple iPhone, or how you going to feel when you buy a new Harley Davidson motorcycle.
They're selling an experience.
They're selling an experience. Nobody's going to put a sticker on the Harley Davidson logo. Never in the world. Nobody, or at least maybe we do, but not a lot of people are going to put a sticker in front of the Apple logo. Just me, because we put a bunch of stickers on the computer, but it's because the same thing. We sell an experience. We don't try to sell a what or a how. And it's the same thing for developers. They're tired of being sold. Okay. We go to a YouTube video, we see an ad, we forget about the ad. And it's boring. As a developer, we're trying to connect with other developers who are facing the same problems that we have. So as developers, developer advocates, what we have to do is do that. Pretty much put ourselves in the same shoes as the developers, understand their struggles, and then try to give them something that our platform or our solution is going to help them to transform. And that's it.
The big difference between your first way of like talking about your product and the second way is that you really connected with people and you were proposing a solution to solve their problem. Like, so you put the problem first, like, hey, your problem is that you're tired of doing XYZ. So let's talk about it. And I understand you, like you connect with people. So yeah, I love that way. This is exactly the way to talk about your product, to talk about any solution, like what's in for people, like why should they listen to you when you talk about that, what's interesting for them, what issue you solve, what problem you solve, sell them the experience, like you were saying about Apple. So love that.
Exactly. Love that. So to wrap up this thing and this topic, I just wanted to recap. At the end, you're looking for engagement. Stories captivate and engage developers, making it easier to convey technical information and build connection. Context, like stories provide context, helping developers understand the real-world application of your technology or product. It's key in terms of the contextual. Inspiration, like stories inspire developers by showcasing how others have overcome challenges and achieved success using their tools. Memorability, stories are more memorable than just dry technical details. And relatability, stories humanize your message, making it more relatable and showing that you understand your community's needs and experiences is super key. And I wanted to talk a bit about, but I know we're kind of already doing a lot of time. People might be bored, but I just wanted to talk about very quickly elevating your video production. And it's super simple. All I wanted to say is it is key to have some sort of, when you're creating content, and I talk about video, we could talk about reading content and that's a whole different world, but I'm talking about video. Make sure that you have a good lighting. That's the only thing I'm going to tell you. It doesn't have to be an expensive light, but try to have normally a key light facing towards your face, and at least something on your background, which is what we call practical lights, to separate you from the background, because you want to be the center focus of your video. There's a lot of videos out there who might have good content, but because of their video and audio quality sucks, people are just going to bypass that piece of content. They're going to forget, and it's bad. But if I have to say which one is more important, the story or the video, is always the story. Like, I know you probably have seen a lot of videos, maybe video tutorials from Indian folks. Their audio is bad. Their video quality probably sucks, but they are showing you something you need. So I'm not saying you go out there and build crappy videos, but I'm saying, first of all, focus on your story and then buy some gear. Do not do it backwards, because there might be a lot of good content out there in terms of quality of the video, but their story is really bad and nobody's going to watch it. But at the end, all I wanted to say is get a microphone. Doesn't have to be an expensive microphone, but sometimes you are showcasing on a talking to other developers and there's background noise. You don't articulate correctly. You don't get heard. That's going to destroy your message. And the second is put an external camera. It doesn't have to be again an expensive camera. It's just something you can control the ISO, the exposure, and get a light towards your face. Get something on the background that separates you from it, and you're gonna be in a good shape to record your own videos and put some quality content out there.
That's awesome. Those are all like amazing trick. Uh, Now I was playing with my own lightning during the time we're talking. I was like, oh, is it good? Is it not good? But yeah, and like everything is good. But I know that, like as you said, it does not need to be expensive. You do not need like professional setups, but at least a minimum is good. And I can personally deal with bad lightning or not super good quality of image, but like the voice, I
Yes,
cannot listen to someone that has like a crappy voice or a lot of noise when the person's talking. Like you can have like a cheap microphone that doesn't pick like noise. And even now, even not the microphone, like most of the tools you use right now, they have like background noise filter that could help you also. So check the
exactly.
settings of what you're using. But yeah, the like everything is important, but like for me it's really like if the sound is bad, I'm not gonna listen to you. I don't know, maybe I'm too old for that shit. I just like I need at least some quality on the voice and the rest will go. But as you said, also even
Exactly.
more important than that, it's the story. Like why, like the most important currency that I have is my time. Why, I know I lost a lot of times on Twitter and Facebook and stuff like that, but still, why should I give you 5, 10, 15, 30 minutes, 1 hour of my time, either with online content, but it goes through conferences to meet up. Like every time you're sharing content with someone, like what's in for me? Why should I give you that time? Because this is what I'm doing. I'm giving you that time. Even if it's for me at the end, I'm going to learn stuff. It's you, the author, the speaker, the person doing the live stream. So be like have a good story. Like tell me something. Like do something interesting for me.
Mhm.
That's super important. But like make me understand that like there is value of like listening to me, like people joining the live stream. Hopefully I was able to convey like the value of joining the show and learning about DevRel, and like with that, like Kevin this week learning about a little more about like video contents and telling a story. So you saw value in that, because if you did not saw value in that, you would not join. So that's the important part. So Kevin, this is like what's happening when two developer advocate do a live stream. In case it can go
Right.
forever. And you know what, I do not care, because that
Yeah.
is my freaking live stream, and that I'm gonna spend the time that I want with the guest. I
Exactly.
understand that like not everybody have an hour to watch a live stream with two guy talking about their relevant stuff, but that was super interesting talking to you, learning a little more about Appsmith, learning a little more about like storytelling, and like the quick tips and tricks about video quality. So thanks for sharing your experience, your expertise, some advice. Do you have any last words for people watching us or people that's going to watch the recording?
Yeah, no, thank you for your time and thank you for the invitation, Fred. And if anyone's watching, either either after we recorded or right now live, I wanted to say, like, if you want to go into DevRel, go for it. It's an amazing journey. I love it. I have nothing to say about it. And please reach out if you have questions. I love to talk. Like, literally, you can see it. We have been more than an hour talking, and I can continue, man. If you tell me we had another hour, dude, we can start talking about airplanes and development and Kubernetes, because I know you're in the Kubernetes industry, so we can talk about it. So reach out. Reach out on LinkedIn, reach out on YouTube, on Twitter. Send me a message if you have questions. I'd love to talk. And if you want to talk more about any other topic, just feel free. And yeah, thank you so much for your time. And thank you, Fred, for setting up these spaces to talk about DevRel. I think this is really needed for all of the DevRel people out there. And yeah, thank you for making it happen.
Awesome. And just before we go away, there is a Vlad from Fitbit Romania. Hey, Vlad, it's been
Hey, Vlad.
forever. Lovely show, like always. Thanks, Vlad. I have nothing no bit of like it's not me, it's all the guests doing the job for that show. So thanks, Kevin. Thanks for joining the show. Thanks for people who were live. Thanks for people watching the recording. As Kevin said, like connect with him. Same goes to me. Connect with me. Always happy to talk about developer stuff, cats, or if you're looking to start in DevRel, same thing for me. Always happy to discuss with people. And on that note, I wish everybody a good rest of the day and see you in 2 weeks for the next episode of the DevRel Show. So have a good day, everyone.
Have a good